It's a beautiful day, a beautiful dawn in Arizona. Let's talk about English pronunciation. So, now we're going to talk about the 7 strategies that you can use to rapidly improve your English pronunciation. Now, we've already had one video about it. What are all of them again? I'll tell you. 1, open your mouth wider when you speak. Number 2, don't use filler words or filler sounds. And that's the one we're going to talk about today. Number 3, don't drop the words of the ends of words or the ends of sentences. Number 4, speak loudly. When you practice or when you speak, make sure that you speak at a high volume. And then there's some long-term habits, 3 more, that will help you a lot. Record and review your English with your phone. Read English books out loud, and every time that you speak English, practice with a loud voice. So even if you're only practicing, practice with a loud voice. Practice repeating things loudly. Get in the habit of being loud. And those are the 7 strategies. Now, who the hell am I? My name is John. And I went to the Juilliard school. And here we can see a picture of my class. We formed our own theater group. We were class, they call their classes groups. So we were group 23. This is a picture of group 23, all of my classmates. And here is a ticket stub to our last production together, which was A Midsummer Night's Dream. And incidentally, I also really know what I'm talking about because I trained with 2 teachers, Robert Neff Williams and Deborah Hecht. Now comes the fun part. Now we're going to focus on the second one that we were talking about, the second strategy. We've already covered open your mouth wider. And now we're going to talk about avoiding filler sounds and noises. We want to avoid using filler sounds or filler noises of any kind while we speak. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to teach you what a filler sound is. In America, we really only have 2 filler sounds. One is the sound and the other is the sound You could possibly add O into that, but that's about it. And principally, almost all the time, the sound that you use to fill is or Let me give you an example of that. Here is the Gettysburg Address delivered by Abraham Lincoln. And just imagine if he used filler sounds when he gave the speech. If he used filler sounds, it might sound like this. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. So that was a little crazy to do it that way. And I don't think that Abraham Lincoln did do it that way. But watch how faster it goes without any of those filler sounds. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. It just goes quickly. And so the filler sound is a crutch of some kind. And one thing that you can do is avoid walking with that crutch. And here's how you should do it. Just pause. Just pause. So I'm going to just start talking right now. And I'll even pretend that I'm looking around at a number of people. And I'm just pausing. That's all I'm doing. You can take the time to breathe people in and just pause. And it's okay. You don't need to make any sound to tell people not to interrupt you. You don't need to do that. And if they do interrupt you, you can just say, oh, wait, just a second, I'm not done yet. And maybe then they will stop interrupting you. But if you're using the and the to stop people from interrupting you, to make sure that they know that you're continuing to talk, try to avoid that. That's not a good habit. Filler words are such a bad habit that in Toastmasters, they have something called the clicker. So Toastmasters is a speaking organization. And when you get up to speak, if you start saying, well, they start clicking. And the first time they listen to hear if you say, and so you'll be giving a speech and you say, I'd like to, oh no. You hear it and suddenly you become very aware of how many times you say, or anything like that. So you got to watch out. You have to have a mental clicker in your own head and really develop a habit of not using the word or the sound or And I wanted to say one more thing about that, and that is this. I want you to actually learn how to say the sound. So let's say that you're from another country. I think that you should practice the sound and I think that you should. Just don't use it as a crutch. And here's the reason why I think that you should. Every now and then, saying or is not such a bad thing. People do it all the time. And not only that, but when you do, you will sound very American. So if you just had this practice sentence, you're going to say, I don't know. You can practice it this way. And you can say, I don't know. Or if you were ordering something at a restaurant and they said, what do you want? Do you want the pizza or the hamburger? You might say, I'll take the hamburger. So I think that those are a good thing to practice. But if you have to speak for a long time and you use those filler words, oh my goodness, it can be a disaster. And I can give you kind of an interesting story about that. I know someone who is Chinese, and their kids were growing up in a school where they spoke English. And the kids were young and they could speak English very well, and they were using like all the time. And that's another filler word that's pretty bad for Americans to use. They use the word like too often, and it makes a conversation almost incomprehensible. And it just puts so much information into a sentence that you can't process it all. It's really irritating. So first, let me give you an example of a person that says like too much. Oh, it's like, like the Beatles are like so cool. And, you can tell I'm like really old because I like the Beatles and like they're so cool. Like Paul and like John and like Ringo and George, they're like so amazing. And like, they can like really play like really great stuff. And like, I like all their albums and I just like them. So I know that I did it too when I was young. American kids have a tendency to start saying the word like a lot. But now let's get back to it as a foreigner learning English and using it as a filler word. So the Chinese mother was saying that too, but instead of saying, because she was just imitating the kids, but instead of just saying the word like, which is the way that an American would say it, she made it into a 2-syllable word, like a. It's like a, I like and I like to go for a drive, and I like to go see a movie, and I like to go. And so if you you can imagine that sometimes she would use that word and it would be in the wrong place. And since she was making it into a 2-syllable word, it got completely incomprehensible. So don't use that word that way. And don't use filler words. And you can tell Americans will always say and and that's really the only thing that we use for filler words. So I remember one time I heard a Scotsman talking, and he was saying something like, well, it's a really good, and if you try to do that in English, it's going to really make you sound not American. And one of the points of learning English and speaking it like a native is that you fit in, your pronunciation fits in with the rest of the people that you're with. And that can be very helpful sometimes if you were in a position where you really needed to communicate with someone and you wanted to develop rapport. You don't really want to sound that different from them. You want to sound similar to them. So, once again, I ask you to subscribe to this channel and come back for more. And remember, don't use filler words. It's okay if you use them every now and then, but try not to use filler words.